The last time we had Brandon Graham on the show, he said it basically because I don't care if they reduce my snaps. That just means I'm going to be fresher at the end of a game. And that's what a team leader does. It's not about me, it's about we.
I don't know.
All right, hour number 2 of the show. Thanks for hanging with us. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. Derrick, Gunn, Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's turn our sights to the birds, guys. 2 weeks away, July 26th. Training camp starts for the Eagles. So we are getting closer. We are inching closer, that's for sure, to training camp. So when you start to get this close, you want to take more of a sort of like step back and try to separate yourself from the eye of the storm, if you will, and look at sort of the bigger picture stuff. And I thought it'd be a good day today for us to kick around some concerns and what we have confidence in, the things we are on the fence about a little bit, not feeling great about maybe, and things you feel real good about going into the season. So let's start with the concerns. I was doing sort of like my quick list, and we'll dive into all these, but as far as, and it's funny, there's a couple that bleed into both. Well, and I'll explain, in a minute. But for me, it's Hurts. It's big play capability on offense. It's pass rush. It's safety. It's James Bradbury, whether it's the Bradbury we saw, in his younger years or the guy we saw last year. It's Jonathan Gannon, and it's Shane Steichen off the top of my head for concerns. Let's kick this around a little bit. Barrett, what are yours that come to mind first and foremost, and then we'll get Gunners, and then we'll kind of dive into all of those concerns, and then we'll do the what we feel good about.
Just like your list, Hurts is number one. I'm definitely concerned. Not concerned as far as him being the leader of this team. Concerned on whether they're going to force him to push the ball down the field in a win which is not conducive to his skill set. You have to call the offense around his skill set and make him a better player. And Hurts making the players around him better players. So then it goes to Shane Steichen. Can Steichen call plays to help Jalen Hurts? Then from there, I will go to the running game, as far as who's going to be the back that they're going to lean on those 3rd and 1 situations, 4th and 1, goal line. They don't have a big back. The biggest back they do have is
Gainwell.
No, not
Huntley,
Gainwell.
if he makes the team.
No, not them. Sanders is bigger than both of those guys.
Yeah, nobody's really big.
Right. The real bowling ball is Boston Scott.
Right, and he's not the biggest guy as far as being that guy.
No.
So I don't see them in having a big back to take control of the situation. Now I do think that if Sanders' head is screwed on straight, he could be a back like that, just from his size standpoint, because I see guys his size do that. It's just on whether he can, make that transition to hit the ball downhill instead of trying to bounce everything. If he can do that, it'll take a lot of the concern off the running game, and people are like, oh, what are you talking about the running game? Well, can he wear that hat? I know he can wear the hat as far as being that 3rd down back. I know he can be a 2nd down back, but can he be that 1st down back and get those power yardage, on 1st down, just running the ball downhill, running power and running the ball downhill, get 6 yards. And now we're working with 2nd and 4. You know what I mean? Do we have that capacity to do that? Then on the defensive side of the ball, I need to know what linebacker is going to step up and be that Mike linebacker in the middle. Is it Kasir White? I'm hoping it's Kasir White. I'm hoping that he has a great year because he's going to dictate what they're going to do from a defensive standpoint on calling the defense, number one, but being that every down linebacker that can be on the field and not play musical chairs. Get somebody in there as a solid starter, all 4 downs, and can play the game from that Mike linebacker position.
How about you, Gunner?
For me, it's the one safety spot. Obviously. But if your front 7 does what I think it's capable of doing, you can hide any deficiency you might have on that back end. We've seen that happen with a number of teams that have a good front 7. They're so active and they're so forceful up front that it takes a lot of pressure off their secondary. Jonathan Gannon is a concern as well. I think the sky's the limit in terms of what he has at his disposal now. In terms of mixing and matching and downs and distance, but will his aggressiveness by far exceed what it was in 2021. And again, we try to give him the benefit of the doubt because he didn't have the personnel last year that he does this year, the wealth of personnel that he has. The right guard position, is a concern.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, the right guard position. We think Seumalo is the odds-on favorite to win that position, but only Jeff Stoutland knows that for sure when it's all said and done. Jalen Hurts, obviously the biggest concern. Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to silence a lot of people. Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to make himself a lot of money after this season. Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to solidify himself not just as a starting quarterback in the National Football League, but as this Eagles starting quarterback for years to come, if he does what we hope he can do in 2022. But, that remains to be seen because we haven't seen it consistently yet. We've seen it sporadically, but we've not seen it consistently. So, the sky's the limit for him as well. So those are just some of my initial concerns to start with.
Yeah, and just to expand on a couple of mine, the Hurts, you guys did a good job covering that. I don't want to. This year, I would like for them to be a big strike offense. To have that capability, I should say, to be a big strike offense. I don't want it to have to be a plodding drive every single time. It takes a lot of pressure off of the offense, a lot of pressure off the opposing team's offenses right back on the field, et cetera. So I like to see that pass rush. Look, I'm still not sold on safety right now. Right. I don't know. I'm not sold on Tart. I think it was a good move. He didn't cost you much. You brought him in here. It makes sense from that standpoint, but I don't know. And I'm a little bit worried that Bradbury's sort of down year wasn't just a byproduct of the Giants being kind of a mess. And that worries me a little bit. I like who was on the other side of him, Slay, clearly.
Go on, Rob.
Huh?
How you do that to me, bro?
Now you're nervous too?
I'm thinking about it now, and it shouldn't be with something I'm thinking. We're talking about a guy that's, a big safety, perfect for what the Eagles love to run. Well, it used to be a run all the time in that big nickel, which helps because when you run big nickel is three safeties in the game as opposed to having, a dime defense where they have all these cornerbacks in the game. It gives you a great sense of security when you can run a big nickel defense and have a big safety in there the same size as your starting linebacker. I mean, he's probably the same size as Kazir White or somebody or Davion Taylor.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He's like 220.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He can come downhill. He can support the run. He can cover tight ends and running backs. But then I'm thinking about it, you still got Harrison Epps back there.
Yes.
And I like Epps more so than I like, his counterpart. I do like it. I think that he can come in and play well, but you're right. He's not proven yet. He hasn't done anything as a starter yet. So, it's still up in the air. I like what he did when he came in big nickel situations where he was in the game or he was in a position where somebody was hurt and he came in. He played very, very solid, man. I love the way he plays, but he's still not proven. And then Derrick brings up the right guard position. I thought that was all but done. And there you guys bring this up for me. See, you guys are ruining me right now, bro. I was all good until you guys started talking, man.
Trying to mess with your head, Barrett.
That was all good, bro.
That's all we're doing. All right. So there's and look, the other ones, Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen. And I think I'm more excited for the possibility of Gannon, I think, than you guys are. I think I'm more pro Gannon. I think a lot of it last year was lack of personnel, but if I'm being real, it feels like there's been a lot put on this guy's plate. It's in one sense, it's really good. I upgraded talent in a massive way, but you're asking this defensive coordinator to change fronts a lot. You're asking this defensive coordinator to do a lot of different things. I want to see him be more aggressive, come out of his comfort zone, which he was in last year. We had James Palmer on from the NFL Network yesterday, and he talked about how, this dude around the league is just, so highly thought of. And we here haven't seen really the reason why yet. And I'm going to base some of this off of, I guess all those teams can't be wrong and all those personnel people can't be wrong. There's got to be a lot more to this than what we're seeing. And once he gets players that we're going to find it out. I hope that's the case. So that's kind of where I am with Gannon, but I'd be lying if I say I didn't have some reservations. And, frankly, I give Steichen credit. He did the smart thing last year, but he kind of did the only thing that he could do when they went to the running attack. What's it going to look like now where you need to develop the quarterback more? You need to get feed A.J. Brown and feed Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and still stay balanced with your running attack. Like, what's it going to look like now? And Steichen wasn't a guy who had super high praise from some of the places that he was at previously. So I worry about both coordinators, frankly. So they would be my concerns for this team.
If what James Palmer is saying is true about Gannon, then it should be a slam dunk in terms of what we should expect from him in 2022, now that he has a significant upgrade at cornerback opposite Darius Slay, at pass rusher in Hassan Reddick, a better core of linebackers, deeper on defensive line, more interchangeable parts. It should be a slam dunk that the defense should be better, but we know that's not how it works. I still don't understand how Gannon comes from out of nowhere and gets these interviews as a head coaching job, and now all of a sudden he's a hot commodity across the league. And again, this is based on what James Palmer told us yesterday. So I'm excited about if what we're hearing about Gannon on the outside looking in is true. I'm excited about the prospects of what this defense could look like, but I have to see it. I have to pump my brakes. Be excited yet pump the brakes at the same time, because we haven't seen it yet. There's so much that we talk about in terms of anticipation and excitement about this Eagles football team for this season, but we also have to have reservations because we haven't seen it yet. How many times have we looked at teams on paper that were flops and teams that we've overlooked because we thought their talent was mediocre, and all of a sudden they're making headlines week in and week out? Football's a funny game like that, And I'm hoping this is the Eagles' year. I'm hoping they put Dallas in their place, which is below them in the standings. But again, I go in optimistic yet cautious about how I critique this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I think the overall outlook of most people, and maybe Eagles fans naturally are probably going to take it a little bit too far because they're fans. But I think most people look at a team that won 9 games last year and really improved their personnel a lot. So I don't think it's a crazy leap to say they can win 10 or 11. And I think the Cowboys come back to earth a little bit, which they won 12. So that leaves you really in a tight, battle from a division standpoint. But there are some that have taken it or going to take it, certainly to that next level. All right, concerns. Let's go confidence now. What you feel great about. I'm going to start with offensive line.
Yep.
There's depth there. Even though we're, right guard might be a question, but or was it left guard?
Right guard.
Right guard.
Right guard.
A little bit of question about right guard. But all in all, you're talking about a really strong starting core with good depth and the best coach of the position in the game. So you feel good about that. And who showed you last year how good they are. And they can run block and pass block. What I also feel really good about is there's a slash here, wide receiver / tight end talent.
Yeah.
With Devontae in his second year taking that next step, with A.J. Brown and with Dallas Goedert as your 3 starters out there, I feel really good about this group. A hell of a lot better than I felt about last year's group. Pass rush, I think it's improved. I mean, when you throw Reddick in there, when you get a healthy Brandon Graham back, a healthy Josh Sweat back, Derek Barnett not at a crazy contract where he's basically playing on a 1-year deal with a lot of incentive. I think that area is going to be a much improved. I think the linebacking core that they are going to roll out is as good as any as I've seen with the Eagles in a pretty long time. Considering all 3, and I'm going to throw Nakobe Dean into that mix with Kaiser White and who am I drawing a blank on? TJ Edwards. So that group, I feel great about Darius Slay. I think he's in any conversation with the top 5, top 7 defensive backs. And I know a worst case scenario, they can always fall back on running the football if it's a day where the other team's taking away the pass. Not all teams can say that. So for all those reasons, I feel really good about this team. They're all my confident areas. How about you, Derrick? Why don't you go first, Derrick?
Definitely the offensive line first. and it's weird to say, even if Jason Kelsey goes down, I'm not panicking with this offensive line because they have several people they can plug right in there. And then I'm not even talking about the rookie, Jurgens. There's other people they can put in at center. They may not play at a Pro Bowl level like a Kelsey, but that offensive line will still function. When you have an offensive coach like Jeff Stoutland, who has done consistently through the years what he's done, I mean, you go back to 2018, 2019, when he had to patch up that offensive line, and you look at what his offensive line did in 2021. They lost Brandon Graham. They were without Lane Johnson for a bit. And that offensive line was still mauling people. Guys like Jack Driscoll stepped into the mix. Landon Dickinson found his way as a rookie. Once you moved him from the right side to the left side. Jordan Mailata, solidified that left spot. He's gotten better and better each year. I think the offensive line is the strength of this team. Heads and shoulders above the rest of the team. I think because it's so versatile and so deep, and it's tutored by one of the best offensive line coaches in the game, I think that is the strong suit of this team. I feel good about the wide receiving core. The addition of A.J. Brown will take a lot of pressure off of the younger guys who are emerging, like Quez, Devontae, and, even some of the other guys who will be on the receiving core. I think they have one of the best tight ends in the game, but my concern is who emerges as the number 2 tight end for this team. So that falls under the category of what I feel good about and what is a little bit unsettling as well, because we don't know who the number 2 tight end is going to be at this point. Somebody's going to have to rise to that, and hopefully it's not Richard Rodgers. Hopefully it's one of the younger guys. I feel good about the cornerback situation, even though Rob made a very valid point about which James Bradbury are we going to get. But they went out and they got somebody that's been around the game for a while. He's proven he's had a good measure of success. He's considered a very good corner. So I feel good about the cornerback position as well. And I feel good about the head coach in terms of what he gets out of his players. These players play for Nick Sirianni. Every player that I've talked to, they love playing for Nick Sirianni. He treats them like professionals. He knows when to give veterans their days off. He knows when to push them, and he knows when to back off. He can be your best buddy. You can confide in him, but he also is not afraid to get in your face when he has to, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So those are some of the areas I feel really comfortable about in terms of the Eagles.
How about you, Barrett?
Of course, offensive line. You guys already laid out the offensive line. Best in football, no question. The tight end position, I think, is a little more locked down than we're really giving him credit for. Of course, Tyree Jackson's not going to be back and ready to start the season off, but I am very comfortable in Jack Stahl being that blocking tight end, and also being a tight end that they can rely upon, in passing situations also. He's good enough. Grant Calcaterra fit in perfectly in the whole mix of what they got going on. The wide receiver position, I've never been as confident in the wide receiver in their ability to push the ball down the field, to make their quarterback better. These guys can make the quarterback. Zach Pascal is a guy we're not talking about nearly enough as someone that can help a young quarterback get better. You know what I'm saying? He's crafty. He's seasoned veteran. He understands how to run routes. He's going to be that slot guy that they need. And he's going to, keep the chains moving, because nobody's going to be looking for Zach Pascal to make any plays. They're going to be looking for Smitty and Brown to make plays. And this is where he comes out and becomes that player to keep the sticks moving. On the defensive side of the ball, of course, the D-line is set. We have guys in place right now like Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargraves. All those guys will be able to mentor a Jordan Davis. And whatever front they want to be in, we have the luxury now of having the opportunity to mix and trade, mix inside the interior and exterior of the defensive line at end, 3 technique with Brandon Graham, Sweat. All these guys can play inside and outside. Then you have young bucks that are more so linebacker / rush ends that can play also. Kyron Johnson is going to surprise a lot of people how big he is, number 1, and how good he is, number 2. He's a young version of Hassan Reddick. We got a double-digit sack guy. but it's all on Gannon giving them an aggressive mindset to have them go out and be that good defense that I think they can be. The only way I think they're going to do that is if they're aggressive on first down. If he's aggressive on first down, it kind of bleeds into second and third down. He's going to have to stop it. First down was such an Achilles heel to the team. They were never able to stop anybody on first down. That's why you always had second and short, third and short. No team had to really be in third and long because they weren't aggressive enough in the first two downs to really be in a position to be aggressive on third down. I like that. And then, I'm confident in the kicking game. Jake Elliott will probably make the Pro Bowl again this year.
Great point.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, their kicking game is going to be good. Now, the return game and
punt game,
I'm worried about that. I'm really worried about it, because Sippers sucked the end part of the season. Sippers he was the worst. And he started out the season so good.
And it's been really quiet. Like the talk about the punter's been, almost non-existent. That Barrett, everything you just brought up is really, really on the money. I mean, can I throw one more in there? And I'm curious if this is just me overthinking it a little bit too much. As much as I feel good about the pass rush being improved, because I think it will be, I worry they're not going to figure out the right way to utilize Reddick. And it's a unique. It's not like he's just your sort of prototype defensive end or whatever. Like he's kind of a hybrid where you gotta get that sweet spot that they did with Carolina last year and the year before in his last year in Arizona.
Rob, you know what? You look at those scales right now. You look at the scales. You got Reddick. Then on this side over here, you got Brandon Graham. How do you use those guys? On the field at the same time? How do you have a hybrid guy on one side and Brandon Graham on the other side and be able to be that defense that can go out and really perform at a high level with both of those guys on the field at the same time? If you want to run a 50 front, you can have both of them out there. But if you run a 30 front, one of those guys had to leave off the field. And they wanted to run a 30 front on passing downs. Somebody's not going to be able to eat. So I want to see how he implements both of those guys on the field at the same time and still be able to put Sweat in the game and Barnett in the game, they're paying a lot of money also.
Yeah.
I still can't envision how they're going to have all these guys playing and being in a position where they're dominating, but there's not enough reps to really put these guys and highlight these guys' skill set. You can't highlight one guy's skill set without hurting the other guy.
Yeah, and look, in some ways it's a good problem to have. You would rather have way more personnel than not enough any day of the week, but you're right, Barrett. It's not going to be easy, just situationally, who's the best guy right now to be in the game? Or look, Brandon Graham's not going to cause much of a stink. He's just such a team guy, and he's at that point in his career. But, other guys aren't going to be happy if they're not getting the touches they want, if they're not in there getting the reps they want, because they're not going to be putting up numbers, and which means they're not going to get paid, going forward. So that's a huge consideration.
The last time we had Brandon Graham on the show, he said it basically because I don't care if they reduce my snaps. That just means I'm going to be fresher at the end of a game. And that's what a team leader does. It's not about me. It's about we. Another concern I might have is I hope Gannon doesn't overthink situations in down and distance to the point where the Eagles have to waste a timeout in situations because you have too many men on the field. We've seen it happen to teams time and time again, when they can't decide real quick what personnel they want on the field for certain down and distance or matchups. Hope we don't get into situations like that to where it could cost us a game because Gannon has overthought the process too much.
Yeah, I do too. There's just a lot on Gannon's plate.
Yeah. Right. It is. We talking about all these multiple fronts. When you got a bunch of multiple fronts, if you're not organized enough to really to really run those type of fronts, this will be his first time. This will be the first time he gets this type of system because they didn't run this type of system in Minnesota. It was more so a 4-down rush. Let those guys hunt with Hunt and all those guys, Huntley and all those guys. How is he going to be able to, who's going in, who's going out? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to help him with that? I know. What's the linebacker / Russian coach's name? His pops coached here also with the wide 9.
Oh, Jeremiah Washburn.
Washburn. Now, Washburn, I guess he's going to help with, getting these guys in and out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But then you have the linebackers position, I mean, I still don't see an ironclad starter right now at the linebacker position, at the Mike position. That's why I said I hope Kazir White takes that and runs with it. But you got some depth right now at the linebackers. You got, guys that can play. I'm looking at the depth chart right now. TJ Edwards, he wants to be a starter, which is going to be a great competition because you just brought in a guy that got drafted in the 3rd round in the Kobe Dean that should have been a 1st rounder. You still got guys that can go out there and play. I'm still under the influence that Davion Taylor is still a guy that's going to get better. And we don't realize how much talent this kid has, how explosive he is, how well he can run. And once he learned how to play the linebacker position, I see him, make some major stride. Sean Bradley's still on the squad.
Yeah. And he's a special teams ace. I would hate to see him go, man, because he really is good. I mean, he was a borderline Pro Bowler at the in terms of teams last year.
That's right.
Yes.
And he may be an odd man out.
Yes, you got Kyron Johnson drafted this year. Kyron Johnson was a baller. He drafted him in the 6th round. That's a great pickup by them because he played defensive end. He played linebacker. They had him standing up sometimes. He played everyone. My first game I did in college football last year was Kansas. And I broke down so much film, and I'm like, this kid really has a shot. No, what happens? He gets drafted to the Eagles. I mean, this is a great opportunity for a lot of guys to make some noise, man, because cream rises to the top, and whoever makes this roster at the linebacker position are ballers because there's no favoritism right now because of where you got drafted. Because a lot of these guys are homegrown guys that they brought in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's no favoritism now.
No, I hear you. All right, so don't move. We'll continue with the football talk. Coming up, coaching hot seats around the NFL, boom or bust potential with certain teams. Also, when we get back, we'll continue the Eagles discussion and look at top 5 Eagles in terms of level of importance. A little later, we'll get into Barrett came across a pretty cool list of noted players under 25, players over 30, et cetera, and where the Eagles fall on some of those lists. So we got a lot more football in store for you throughout the course of the program. Don't go anywhere. Derrick, Gunn, Barrett Brooks. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, time for me to tell you about Razor Technology. And here's the thing. The future of work isn't remote or in person. It's a hybrid model. In facing this new reality, businesses must reimagine their workplaces to align with the preferences and needs of modern employees. Razor Technology helps businesses create a workplace that gives their teams flexibility in choosing how and where they put in their hours. Online platforms for communication and collaboration combined with secure and adaptable mobile devices are enabling hybrid meeting experiences that are nearly on par with in-person events, so everyone can feel like they're a part of the conversation. Employees with strong social connections with their team report being, better well-being, higher productivity, stronger retention rates, you name it. Razor Technology helps growing organizations adapt to hybrid environments with industry-leading digital tools and insightful guidance that promotes efficiency and workplace satisfaction. Learn more by calling 866-797-3282. That's 866-797-3282. Or visit us online at razor-tech.com. That is razor-tech.com.